Hello, my name is Evie and welcome back to Overwatch Everyday. This is a series where I play 1 to 5 ranked games each day, explaining my thought process that gets me up to champ on all roles throughout the video. In today's video, we end up playing some Orisa, Junker Queen, Hazard, Diva, and then playing a Winston game where we were completely dominant on King's Row, utilizing the high grounds and our mobility to weave around the enemy team to the point where they tried to counter swap basically their entire comp, trying to stop us, but still utilizing our fundamentals, our mobility, and our patience. We were able to continue dominating that game to the point where they couldn't do anything. And with that out of the way, let's get into the video. Where you need to be standing are going to be very complicated in comparison to something like flex support or hit scan. Your actual job is very flexible and fluctuates quite a bit. Wait, Goops, wait! Wait, that's so awesome. I didn't know you were queuing. That's awesome. Goop said he was in chat earlier. But looking at this map here, we're going to be on Midtown. Diva, Zarya, Widow, and Cassidy all ban. I think very a-okay. A lot of things that we can be playing here on Midtown. I think that Domino would be pretty good, and Ramatra, Orisa, Sigma. I personally really like Winston here, but a lot of people might not. Some people disagree with me on that. Damn. Goop City rank 4? That's a go. Sojourn, Hanzo, Kiri, Lucio. There's going to be so much we could play here. Actually, so much. I think Orisa is going to be a fairly flexible hero that will allow us to play and adjust fairly easily to whatever our team wants to be sort of doing. So I'm thinking that Orisa is going to be the play here. There we go. I like a little bit more chill music. You like Winston after first point? Yeah. Winston after first point I think is very, very, very strong. I even like Winston on first point, but that's just because I just like Winston. There's a specific thing that I do on Winston that makes first point super awesome. The Torbjorn falls pretty low, but seeing that they're on Torb Mercy, I hear somebody on this left side. It's going to be their Onion. Their Onion is backing up here. I'm just going to be looking to try to poke out whoever I can. If their Doomfist is not able to go in at all, then we're just going to be kind of free. But as their Doomfist takes their cycle, I'm going to be using that to take even a little bit more space on the map. Our Hanzo falls a little bit low. We see their Onion on high ground, so I'm just going to try to throw a little bit of bullets into them. I want to give my team time to deal with this Doomfist, and just basically looking back, pressuring point wouldn't have been very fruitful at the moment since they had a bunch of people who were ready to shoot it and a ton of very good positions and LOS on the point. So I just wanted to be making sure that as I recognized their Doomfist was inside of our space, that I could just be ready and holding my LOS on that main area to blow them up as they tried to kite from our team. So their Doomfist does go in and finds a kill onto our Kiriko, but that will be a-okay. I want to make sure that this Doomfist doesn't get any more value, so I'm just going to be trying to keep him off the point, and we will end up capping, so we don't need to use any ultimates here, as our spawn is just going to be right behind us. And that will be a pretty good point. I think Orisa into Doomfist is going to be definitely a very strong matchup. As you can see, if I'm just able to take some space and then hold it, it's going to be very difficult for their Doomfist to get good cycles off. So Doomfist goes onto that right side. They do farm their punch. That's a really important noise to actually listen for. I kind of wish that if they made it a bit louder. Their Doomfist has a very good chance of actually landing inside of our space, so I'm just going to be looking to poke them out here. Rush comes out, so I'm going to be trying to pressure their back line a bit more. We see their Doomfist go into our team's space. Onion's on this left side. We do pop our B, which is okay. I don't know how necessarily it was, but we're going to have our pull coming into next fight, so we can try to react to whatever they are doing. Nobody else is on the cart and our tracer's not here yet. Ideally, I'd like if my tracer took the cart, but they're going to take high ground. So I'm just going to sit on a point, I guess. I do need to get off of it here, since this high ground is just going to be a little bit more important than the little bit of extra cart space. Especially since they have more mobility. As their Doomfist has a bit more mobility than us and is going to be able to switch between that high ground position and the low ground position very, very easily to touch the cart. We, as the lower mobility tank, want to be prioritizing the important spots on the map and holding it aggressively for our team to actually play around. But unfortunately, we're going to just have to back there. They do use some ultimates. I believe that they use their Unron ult. And we will have to reset. Very A-okay. If I'm able to force out their Doomfist, if I ever get a chance to step onto their backline here, as their Doomfist is on their cycle reset, as their Doomfist is out, and then I'm just going to try to pull and enable our overclock the best that I can. We find some good damage onto their Torbjorn, their Doomfist goes out, and this will be our chance to get our pull off like we were just talking about. Torbjorn's falling very, 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 very low, but that'll be okay since their Doomfist walks into our space. I'm just going to be spamming it the best that I can. Trying to clear out this Torbjorn so our Tracer maybe would be able to touch the cart, but unfortunately not quite able to. We are going to find the kill onto the Torbjorn though, and maybe my approach to holding the high ground isn't getting us enough value that we need to actually win. So maybe just walking to the point and brawling whoever's on the point is going to be how we win this game. Finding the spear onto the Kyrian, they will be going down here. I don't know why I got the spear perk. I usually don't like getting the Orisa major perks. It's not usually good. Because now if they swap to Orisa, especially on this third point, and they have the ability to pick their major perk and they pick shield perk, I'm going to be at a massive disadvantage in that Orisa mirror. So if their on-run backs up here, I'm going to pull. Actually, their Mercy's here, so I'm going to try to pull Mercy. Gets very, very low, and they have to walk into my Tracer's LOS. Since we had so much map space and their Mercy was in a position that we would be able to actually blow them up, we are going to be able to pop our pull there, and then our Tracer's going to be able to clean it up, and they had to be back in. And they couldn't go to the high ground, they couldn't go behind us. There was no option for their Mercy there as soon as we popped our pull. But there's another little thing that I did there. As their on-run wanted to step onto me point, since they didn't have anyone really to contest, and since we had the attacker's advantage in the fact that we get to choose sort of when we get to fight, is I didn't have to commit onto the point. I didn't have to stand onto the point. As their on-run stepped onto me, I could just continue backing up and pulling them further and further and further into my team's LOS. That way we would be able to secure that kill onto the on-run rather than actually just committing onto the point and then just having a raw numbers trade when we just straight up didn't need to. So I'm taking a little bit of damage, seeing if I can farm our rush a bit more while we just sort of passively push the card. Doomfist goes onto that high ground, not too much we can do about it. Missed the spear onto the on-run, but I think maybe we can clean them up. Doomfist gets onto our Sojourn, not much we can do about that either, but we do see this Torbjorn inside of our space, so we're just going to be using our spin to buffer, breaking this turret to enable our Tracer to do whatever they want. They are going to be able to find the kill onto the Mercy. Onion is chilling that main area. Our supports go down, which is going to end up making this rougher for us, but maybe we can still find some frags. Unfortunately, not enough to win this though. Definitely A-okay. They're going to remain on the Doomfist, so I think that Orisa is still fine here, as well as they don't actually have that much long-range spam, which is something that Orisa might struggle into on this point, especially without the shield perk. So, because they don't have much of that, I'm just going to stick Orisa. While sometimes into other comps, I might swap like Sigma or Domina or something along those lines. Something with the shield that can allow us to take space a little bit more in a front-to-back fashion. But there's going to be a bunch of ults coming out here. Torbjorn falls low. I'm going to pop my ult and then immediately drop it because I fall a little bit too low. Miss the spear onto the Mercy, but she does fall 1 HP. Trying to clean up that kill. We do find it. but immediately after I'm going to be back in, since we're just taking so much damage and we will be going down, unfortunately, here. 5 ults used, I think, from our team, but will not be enough since I believe they also use 5 ults. They use their Valk, they use their Rush, they use their... Did they on-run? I don't know if they on-run. Well, either way, we didn't get the value that we needed to out of our pull because we popped it after our armor was already gone, so we weren't able to charge it up fully. And I think that if we corrected that mistake, we maybe could have won that fight. Going into this last fight here, I want to be trying to save my spear for this on-run ult, just in case that they have it. Molten Core gets popped, so it's going to make our touch a little bit harder, especially noting this lava pool on the right side is going to be something important to note. Our supports go down, so I need to be playing really fast. I'm not going to get any healing for the rest of the fight, so I want to be trying to make some sort of play happen, ideally getting onto the Mercy, but unfortunately, we are not going to be able to win that last point. I think definitely if I use my ult a little bit better, we could have full capped, but I don't think that it will be in the cards for us, at least in this specific moment. So thinking about our defense now, we have a Pharah and a Kiriko. I'd imagine probably a Tracer again, a Lari, Reaper. Reaper is going to be a pretty important hero to note. Zarya is banned, so we're not going to be able to enable our Reaper and our Pharah. Heroes that could be good here, potentially Domina, Ramatra. Orisa still wouldn't be that bad, especially if they're going to stick on that Doomfist. Orisa might just be the safest pick, since Orisa still has a really, really good matchup into Doomfist, as well as since our team wants to be playing a little bit more on the slower side, since we have that Alari, we're going to want to pump in a lot more damage over time rather than actually going for crazy aggressive steps. I think that as long as we're making it difficult for them to get onto our backline, we're going to be finding a lot of value across our team comp, as well as Orisa still going to have a lot of clutch potential. I'm going to still be able to find my own individual frags, but it's just going to be a bit easier than other heroes to really like shut down their Doomfist if they stay on it, which sounds like they are on the Doomfist. So I think Doomfist went to that high ground, or maybe they punch back to swap. I'm going to be spearing early. Don't want to give punch, but we'll try to help out. As the Torbjorn uses their E, I maybe am going to look to step. Their Doomfist inside of our space. Onion's ready to peel us, so I can't actually play that aggressive yet. As their on-run gets forced out, I want to try to get onto this Mercy. Their Kiriko's back main. Doomfist is 1 HP and does fall down, and we're just going to find a nice pinch with our Reaper, making sure that we're just choosing our steps super, super, super carefully. Since if we went onto that Mercy Torbjorn, even though they used their E, even though we were down our Alari, since their on-run was just sort of sitting in that top right area, ready to peel us, there was going to be an insanely high chance that we would have just gotten one shot, and we wouldn't have been able to find any damage. So they are going to mirror us on the Orisa. Very, very important thing to know. Torbjorn uses their E early, and Orisa uses their gold early, which is a very big trigger for us, because gold is going to be one of the main forms of damage reduction on this hero. So you're going to be able to play quite aggressively whenever you have your gold. But if they don't have their gold, but you have your gold, that's going to be a huge advantage that you can play for and open up fights with. So ideally poking out the Orisa early, trying to force out the enemy gold so you can have the second one, which will allow you to stay into the fight for a little bit longer. It's going to be very, very good thing to kind of look for. Mercy falls 1 HP, so does Torbjorn. Torbjorn goes down, and Orisa trying to poke out this top right area. I just want to sort of make sure that she's not able to do too much. I hear somebody above us, so I'm going to be looking for a small play onto it, knowing that we don't have to full commit there, and most of their damage was not actually ready to be put into this fight. Our Lari wants to shoot up here, so I'm going to stay here for a little bit longer than I'd like to, just to sort of give them a buffer. But as Orisa walks a little bit towards the choke, that value is now going to be harder to enable in any way, so I'm just going to back up main. Since if their Orisa walked this low ground, I would need to be ready to actually put some damage and some pressure onto it, since if they got through for free, it would be really, really bad. Amazing kill coming out from my Emre, and a huge Suzu from my Kiriko to completely deny their Onion ult. So now they are going to be down 5 ultimates, or not 5 ultimates. They use their Torbolt, they use their Onion, they use their Valk the fight before, so they only have a Orisa pull coming into this next one. Probably not even, they're probably about 80. And we're going to have 5. So with that in mind, I actually don't want to be using my ult early or aggressively. I want to be using it to clutch up if I need to and enable my team to actually shoot and use their own ultimates first, because it's going to be very, very common in ranked where your team wants to be going first with ults, and sometimes you are going to be needing to go first with ults. It's going to be the only way that you're actually going to find some value or be able to win some fights, even if you have an advantage. But I go about ranked in the idea and the philosophy of recognizing when I need to make plays, and if I don't need to make a play to win, then I try to deny everything that the enemy team can do. So maintaining and holding my ultimate for the potential chance to react to whatever the enemy team wants to be doing. So if they wanted to step with an ultimate, or if they ended up having like 2 miracle kills that they got mechanically, or they swapped a Widowmaker and found a miracle kill or something, I would still have my ultimate ready to turn that advantage that they just gained back around in our favor. That's my personal way about going about my ults in ranked. I know that it's a little bit more of a controversial opinion, especially for some GM or champ players. It's just what I found most success on and what makes most sense to me and what feels best, because especially on tank, where I'm going to just mainly be holding space, I need to be making sure that I'm actually able to do that. And if I'm not able to hold the space that we really need, then the game will just fall over very, very quickly. But overall, that will be a very good game, a very good start, and that will take us back up to Grandmaster 2. I don't think we're going to be able to get champ quite yet today, but we can dream. I think I said that at the start of last episode too. I'm thinking about maybe if there's heroes that we would want to try out or play going into these next few games. I personally would like a few more reps on Diva, but that's just because I'm going to have to play her a lot more in scrims and tournaments. How do you determine a team comp's playstyle? I like to go about it in a way of thinking of what does each individual hero want to be playing for? How can they get the most value out of their kit? And if there are any overlaps with heroes and how they want to be getting value out of their kit, then you can be leaning towards that comp's playstyle a little bit more. So heroes like in last game, where we had an Alari and an Emre, both of them want to be playing with a little bit more distance, a little bit more range, since most of the value from their kit is going to be coming from their actual just damage, the raw M1. So if we're able to slow the game down and pump in the bigger numbers, and since we don't actually have that much utility and we want to be playing more for our numbers, we want to slow the game down. We want to let our shooters shoot from a longer distance since they don't like being ran on, and we can actually make it so that the playstyle of our comp is going to be kind of like slower, more pokier style, but we still have the ability to brawl, to sort of step onto them. But it's just something like making sure that we recognize what our other heroes on our team want to be doing, and then trying to enable that while still finding our own value is going to be something that I think is pretty consistently good in ranks. But mainly ranked is about finding your own value. It is about finding your own value. Couldn't be happier. My Geo3 tank is you on alt account. Hopefully this will be champ soon. Good shit though, Goop City. You played well. Struggle playing into Orisa since once she gets shielded, it feels like her and her team are untouchable, especially if my DPS don't take angles. Any tips? Just go Ram or Winston or something. Winston's going to be an insanely strong pick into Orisa. The only thing that you need to care about with Winston into Orisa is while you want to be playing for a lot of bubble splits, you will definitely be making... you need to be very careful of the shield, since if you're shielded off from your healers when you're not expecting to be, it can be really, really difficult. But Winston's mobility is going to be a very good matchup into Orisa. So I'm going to be playing some Winston here. As our Sigma is on low ground, they have an Echo and a Soldier. I was a little bit scared to jump onto the high ground once I heard the Echo, and there's hair on my mouse pad. Alright, now it's clear. But basically into their team comp, since they're going to be very, very strong numbers-wise, we want to be taking angles around them, splitting up their attention and the numbers that they can really play for, and inting our brains out apparently. My thought process there was that since we were up 2 members and our team was walking forward a little bit more, that I could pressure their backline and I would have enough sort of raw... my bubble would be able to keep me alive long enough for my team to get into the fight. But I think that since their tank is on Sigma, that is a mistake, since their Sigma is going to be fairly self-sustainable while pumping in a lot of pressure onto our backline. So now that they're on Cassidy, our job is going to get a lot harder. We still want to be playing for the same things of just sort of opening up a lot of space on the map and taking angles around their Sigma and then looking to clear our space afterwards. So as our Sigma gets pretty close here, I might look to back jump on that. I want to see if they walk into my team's LOS a bit, and as soon as they do, I'm going to be looking for my bubble. We get their hands out. Cassidy's on that bottom right area, so I'm going to be taking right above them. It's going to make it basically impossible for their Cassidy to find value or damage onto us. Blocking this Mercy's healing from the Kiriko. I really want this Mercy gone, but they will be popping Valk. So I'll be using this as my time to get out. Mercy finding their Valk value onto me by popping their Glock, and they will be winning that fight. With the Valkyrie use and the Flux use, I think that it's going to make our any kills that we could potentially get very, very hard. And me and our Tracer got split. Maybe I should have just looked at the Cassidy instead, because my Tracer was looking at the Cassidy and it would have been a lot higher burst damage if we just both focused one target. But same thing here, same song and dance. We just want to be looking to open up some space, but as we have our nano boost, I'm gonna see if I'd be able to get my Ana to nano me, taking their Cassidy and their backline out of the fight. And as soon as they use a bunch of ultimates, so we're no longer able to get value onto their backline, we just want to be backing up. Mercy goes 1. We are able to find their Kiriko due to an amazing nade by our Ana. We really don't want to let this Mercy stabilize, since the longer they're in the fight, the harder it's going to be for us to kill anyone else. But Mercy is going to be a very difficult hero for any tank to really kill. And their Kiriko is going to come back right into this fight, but we are going to be able to bubble off their Sigma, so she's not able to find their healing value and keep everybody up inside of us. But we do want them out, as they are going to be a pretty significant threat. As we see their TP, I want to be chasing this and peeling my Tracer a bit. If we're able to find this kill onto the Kiriko, we're going to be looking in a pretty good spot. We hear their Cassidy walking on this left side. I want to make sure that I'm able to catch him as he walks out, since that will be another way that we could potentially lose this fight, or that they could clutch up. If their Cassidy hits a miracle 2-shot onto one of our squishies, things would look really, really bad really, really fast. But that will not be the case, and we will be winning this fight here. I'm a little bit worried about their Cassidy respawning from tunnels, so I'm going to be keeping my ears open for that. Since if their Cassidy was respawning out of the tunnels and they swung out as I chased their supports, there was a very high chance that I could just get instantly bursted by their team. Their damage boosted Cassidy is up, and we really don't want to mess with that much, so I'm just going to be backing up. I can give the space bubble behind my Cassidy, trying to keep them alive the best that I can. Their Echo is probably going to be stepping on me soon, but we hear their Kiriko on the left side, so I'm going to throw a couple of shots into that. Mercy trying to heal up my Kiriko, and I think that their Cassidy is split. No, unfortunately. My Cassidy does find the kill onto their Echo, but my backline goes down. It's going to be very difficult for me to find any real value here with their Mercy still alive. So I'm just going to be pathing in a way that will enable me to live and continue my pressure for now. Maybe finding the kill onto this cast. I go for this jump because I have the chance of building my primal and living on that engage. While I knew that the rest of their team was main, I figured that it would be kind of possible for me to live if I was just able to build my primal off of that engage. Since if they were close enough to do like a bunch of damage to me very quickly, then it meant that they were close enough for me to cleave and farm primal. I think Echo's on this left side and my Tracer's chasing. I don't think that there's too much pressure main, so I want to be clearing our space, making sure that that threat is marked out properly, and we're just going to give a little bit of space on main, but because we no longer have to worry about anything inside of us, we can just immediately back up. Looks like we want to be matching their Kitsune Rush with our Nano Boost, and we are going to be able to find the kill onto their Kiriko, and their Sigma is going to be inside of our space. I'm going to be stepping at this Echo since I know they don't have fly and they needed to use it to get back to the fight this quickly. Sigma is going to be dropping and we will be closing out that point. Thinking about how we want to use our primal here, I was going to use primal in a way that allows me to dodge their flux, but since that's no longer something we really need to worry about, I'm wondering how I want to be using it. Valkyrie is going to be something that will basically make it so that our primal rage gets very little value. I might just honestly use primal to deny their mercy res if we get an early kill. So me and Chewy are gonna be locking eyes together, trying to see if we're each other's soulmates, but I don't think that that is going to be the case. And I think that as their Kiriko's low ground, if we can force out their stuff early, that would be awesome. We bait their Winston jump, their Echo's main. I might try to open with primal instead. Oh yeah, I can open with primal now because they're not on mercy, and I can actually get value out of this ultimate. But they're going to be duping, and I think that my team generally wants to live. They have their primal rage now, but they're not going to be able to get it off. I'm sure that they heard the roar on their screen. I really get it. I saw the whip shot come out from the Brigitte, so I'm just going to be able to get a pretty free step onto them. Unfortunately, I have to take their primal, or take their Cassidy into their backlines LOS with my primal, but as their Winston takes a bunch of damage, their supports are going to be preoccupied. Now that they're on Bastion, I just want to be making sure that I'm playing outside of their LOS and seeing if I'm able to poke and pressure point in any way. And we will be able to accomplish that and win or full cap this first round. Ending that round 21-2, I think that we definitely were playing fairly well. First point was a little bit difficult, and I think that that one int that I had when we went up 2, and then I stepped onto their backline when I should have just probably chilled and shot out and looked for their Sigma to back up before I went in, would have been actually much better. Since me inting on that first point gave them a lot of ultimates, and it was really hard to take away that advantage later. I think that we adapted well on second point. We were having a lot of uptime. We were getting as aggressive as we needed to be and farming our primal. I think that we maybe didn't need to hold on to primal as long as we did, but I mean, we didn't really need it for much. Winston Mirror is so much fun. I'm going to be sticking Winston here. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But on second point, especially for King's Row, as it's going to be Streets phase, it's going to be a lot more of like closer range, sort of brawl style of a point. I think that we might want to swap to something a little bit more brawly. Thank you for the follow, D-Flex. I appreciate it. I'm thinking about how we want to posture here. I know a lot of high-level coaches will tell me not to stage on this top left area, but I really like to try to catch out any hit scans or sojourns that slide out here, as well as I found it fairly consistent to actually get to the statue if I need to. But as they're on Cassidy, I'm just going to be going back to the statue. Ideally, you want to be on top of it. So as their Cassidy steps on that right side and finds a kill onto their Tracer, the only advantage that we're really going to have is our bubble advantage. So I'm just going to be trying to mark out this Tracer and their Cassidy and their Kiriko, and then now that I'm not able to do anything about it, I'm just going to be playing opposite side of the map, trying to clear out their Echo the best that I can, And their Kiriko is going to give us some value as well by TPing to try to save their Echo, but just being a step too late. Now I can be looking for my hit inside of my team's LOS. My Bastion's forming, so I want to be taking aggro off of them, allowing them to put their numbers into their team the best that they can. Kiriko and Winston are inside of our space. Kiriko is especially going to be something to consider here. So Winston falls low. I'm going to back up to the point since I'm going to need to touch, but I did not realize that they swapped onto Bastion, and I will be dying there. If they had their Echo still, I would have been more than fine to sort of just play around my bubble and back up to the telephone booth on point. But that Bastion swap's going to catch us off guard a little bit. Now we're playing a Winston Bastion mirror. They have Brigitte, Kiriko. I think that their comp's going to be a little bit better than ours. But our comp is going to be capable of playing a little bit slower. But the main thing that we have to worry about is marking out this Kiriko and their Cassidy while we play slower, since they're going to have a bit more miracle pick potential. And we want to be just putting in a bit more consistent damage onto their team. So we're going to be just able to live by picking up the Mega here. Cassidy's walking into our space a bit, I think. There he is. So we're going to be immediately backing up to clear that. We put our bubble down main to make it harder for their team to care him as we force him out. And we're going to continue to have him low HP. We know that we're jumping inside of other Bastion LOS, so I'm thinking about how I want to get out of it as swiftly as I can, just in case they form from main. As I jumped to that high ground, it would have been a very easy beam down. So if I committed a fight inside of their Bastion LOS, it would have been looking really, really bad for us very quickly. So you just want to have an escape route ready anytime you're going for a play that could be aggressive. Cassie's on the left side, but since I maybe could have jumped that, I could have probably jumped into that room and tried to kill their Cassidy since I had bubble light armor. I just was hesitant because I didn't know where the rest of their team was. And if you don't have the information to make the right decision, then sometimes it's just best to chill. Sometimes. We are going to be using our Bastion ult. They use their Rally and their Form and their Kitsune. It's going to be making this fight fairly difficult for us, especially with their 4 or 3 people looking at us. We're just going to be taking the value of attention with our primal and not needing to do that much more, but we're going to use the last seconds of our primal to actually get a huge boop into our team. That's something that I think a lot of people sort of undervalue on Winston, and they try to do a little bit too much. I try to do too much with primal, but you really can just sort of take a bunch of attention, negate most of their ultimates, since they had to use most of their rally to look at us in primal. They had to use most of their Kitsune rush, and now we just backed up. We negated all of those ultimates values, and we're still able to get value out of our primal rage with that huge boop into our team as the enemy was trying to stabilize. So now they're going to be on Roadhog, Junkrat, Cassidy. It's going to be a very, very high damage comp. It's going to make our job fairly difficult to execute. As I see their Junkrat main, I could probably jump onto that, but since I know it's within their Brig pack range, I don't really want to be playing that aggressively. But I will take a quick step onto their Kiriko as I see our team sort of aggressing, and their Hog was in a bad spot. So I could just immediately follow up by pressuring their backline there, since I knew that there wouldn't be that much damage directed onto me since my team was getting active. Rest of them are walking this high ground, and I want to be ready to back up, because especially if I get slowed by that Ramatra, it's going to be feeling really, really yucky for me to try to kite out of their range. And now they're going to be having a lot of traditionally heroes you'd consider counters to Winston. So if we go for any dive, their Cassie's going to throw Fan the Hammers into us, the Reaper's going to just shoot his gun. That's going to be kind of difficult. As my team starts to back up, I'm just going to bait them into this LOS, into this range. Our Torbjorn wants to be matching the Kitsune Rush with Molten Core. Reaper wants to TP onto me soon, I'm pretty sure. But we're very chill here. We're holding all the space that we need to. And walking into that space is going to just be really difficult for us. So we don't have to do that much. We can just take these high grounds. We can play these high grounds. And that's why I always love going Chain Lightning instead of Healing Bubble, is because if we find ourselves in one of these matchups where you want to be or the enemy team wants to counter you on Winston by going something super brawly, you're just going to find so much value sitting on the lanes and trying to pressure out their team a lot rather than actually going for engages. You don't want to be matching their numbers if their numbers are better. So we see the Reaper TP in. I'm just going to be waiting out the slow a bit before I get super active, and I think that walking out of my bubble there would result in my death since they just had so many people looking at it. So I'm just going to go back to taking this sort of space. Their Mizuki is going to start walking up at us, so I'm just going to jump down this lane and force their team to walk forward to carry their Ramatra, because I put the bubble to split their Ramatra and the rest of their team. So I'm just going to continue holding these high grounds. Reaper's on that top right. I could try to fight it, but instead I'm going to pressure their backline. And inside of our Torbjorn turret LOS, we're going to be super chill to clean up that Cassidy, and we will be winning that game. Even though they swapped to a bunch of things that were going to try to shut us down, to try to counter us, with that Mizuki, with the Reaper, with the Cassidy. If you play good enough Winston, it doesn't really matter. Winston's fundamentally an insanely strong hero, like very strong hero, and has all of the tools that you need to actually like play into most comps that you'd run into. So there's always outplay. There's always outplay on Winston. Sometimes it's too difficult for you to execute, and that's okay. Sometimes I'm going to be swapping off Winston into specific comps, or if I have into specific comps or on specific maps, I'm not able to use the high grounds to sort of poke from a safe distance. Sometimes I'm going to swap off Winston, but for the most part, the skill ceiling on Winston is so insanely high, and there are so many options to try to play around more traditional counters that you can be utilizing those resources that Winston has to play into almost every comp. What up, Kurnik? The amount of displacement you have with Primal is massive, even if you don't assassinate someone yourself. Yeah, exactly. Primal, I believe, is one of the strongest ults in the game, and it's the most versatile ult in the game. It's going to be one of the most skilled expressive, but it's going to be really difficult to actually execute properly because it's so unique. Primal is not just a kill ultimate. Primal is going to be really efficient at forcing out the enemy team's ults. It's going to be really good at enabling your team's ults, denying the enemy team's ults. It used to be back in the day when dash cooldown I think was a little bit longer. What my coach told me and why I started grinding primals in the first place was it was like a nano blade meta where it was just like Ana Genji everywhere. And they said, Eevee, you need to learn how to primal the nano blade to take them away from our team. And I would go, okay. So there's going to be so many ways to use Primal Rage. I think that's one of the strongest ults in the game, but it can be very hard. But the skill ceiling on it is ridiculously high. It's going to be one of my favorite aspects about Overwatch, I think. Looking into our next game here, we do roll Oasis. A lot of heroes that we can play on Oasis. I think that dive heroes are going to be a little bit stronger than brawlier tanks on this map, just because there are going to be some pretty strong high grounds to play around. That can feel pretty oppressive if you are playing a brawl tank. Like you saw for the last game, their Ramatra was going to have a really difficult time actually fighting into us. Once we got onto those high grounds and we were taking the space around them, they had the option of trying to walk onto our backline, in which we would just drop off of the high ground, bubble off their team, and they would be basically fighting a 1v5. Or they could try to walk over to us and force us off at the high grounds, and then we could just jump somewhere else. And our team would be able to shoot a bunch. Yeah, Reaper, I really don't think Reaper is a Winston counter. A lot of people say that. A lot of people say Reaper is a Winston counter. A good Winston should not die to Reaper. Like, kind of ever. I don't think it's a real counter. We have a Tracer, Emre, Brigitte, very flexible team to sort of play around. I'm going to try some Hazard, I think, just because it's kind of calling to me. Especially Hazard's going to be a fairly flexible hero. They're going to have stronger numbers and a little bit more mobility compared to some other divier tanks. They're going to be matching the Hazard. We give them the high ground, and with their Ana, that can be a little bit scary. Their Hazard walks up onto this right side, and our Tracer gets their recall for us. Ana and Torbjorn are on this left, which is going to mean that it's pretty scary for us. I'm just trying to proc my healing. And I think clear this high ground. I think I just need to. Cat's going over to peel us, which is going to be okay. We can be a little bit slower, especially since we're on Brig's End. We're not going to actually have that much healing, but we can try to wall their Hazard in. Unfortunately, miss while doing so. Their Hazard walks into our Discord range, and because we never tried to force anything, our patience will be rewarded, and we're going to be able to clean up their Hazard as they walk into our supports. Main thing here is that Brigitte and Zenyatta are going to be very slow, but they're going to be really, really hard to step on. And anytime that their Hazard overextends, we want to make sure that we're trying to hold as much space as we can so our Zenyatta doesn't get ran down, but that we still have our resources to blow up anyone who gets discorded a bit later into the fight. So as our Genji walks up, this is something that's going to be kind of important for us to force out. I see their cat going in, so I'm just going to be looking to wall off their team. I see my Emre falling a little bit low, so I'm going to be stabling on this high ground, looking at my backline positioning and reloading. My Tracer's getting fought by somebody. Hazard gets discorded though. I need to be very careful of their Ana nade and sleep dart. Since they use their sleep dart, I'd have a little bit of time to actually pressure out the point. Cat's going to be doing a little bit too much healing for us to actually deal or find the frag onto that Genji, but it's going to be a-okay. We have our initiator passive. So we can be healing ourselves a good amount. And we will be living here by using our spikes onto the cat to send them down into the pit, and then our slash to buy enough time for our wall to come back. Our Brigitte, as it goes down, so our Zen's going to be insanely fragile. I'm actually going to be acting kind of as like a mini Brigitte to sort of buffer my Zenyatta, making sure that their Hazard or their Genji can't get onto them easily. But as our Brigitte comes back, I'm going to be looking to sort of poke a little bit more like I was doing before. Torbjorn's alone on that left side, but I don't know where their Ana is, so I'm a little scared. Nanoblade comes out. Unfortunately, I don't have the Primal Rage to stop it, but I do have my wall to slow them down, and I think that'll buy enough time for us to live the Genji step onto us. I think Genji... Oh, they still have a dash, huh? I thought they didn't have a dash. My Tracer's low HP. Their Ana's on this right side. I'm going to look for a kill into their Ana. Ideally, the goal was to get into the room and get out very quickly. The best trank ever. But unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to find a frag off of it. I felt a little bit pressured to because our Brig went down, and I think that it would have been kind of hard to turn that fight around afterwards because our Zen was very much so inside of their Hazard range, and I thought that they would have just blown up. But looking at this last fight here, we see their Ana on right side, Cat on left side, Hazard's really close on the corner. We get our armor forced, but I'm able to proc my initiator healing, and our oh my gosh, our Tracer's a go. Torbjorn gets picked up, so we're not going to be able to find that kill. Genji's inside of our space, but does go down to our Brigitte. Our backline's going to live their engage. Torbjorn's discorded, but unfortunately dragged out by the cat. We're not going to be able to find the kill. We have our spikes coming up fairly soon again. I want to be using them onto their Hazard inside of our Discord range. As soon as I feel like I'm able to cut off their healers from their Hazard, I want to, and they're inside of our Zenyatta LOS, I want to spikes it and try and keep us up, but unfortunately our guy will go down. Ana's on that right side, so we're going to be stepping onto that, finding the quick kill. Both of our supports are down. Their Hazard's very low HP, and I think that they're going to wall that side door area, and they're just going to have a few too many people on the point. If I was able to build my hazard ult just a little bit sooner, they wouldn't have been able to get any value off of that nano hazard step, and our backline probably could have lived. But unfortunately, I'm just not going to be able to farm it quite fast enough. I think the idea is right. I just needed the ultimate in time. Yeah, that was a fun play onto the cat when they tried to drag me. I might try to make that into like the first TikTok for the channel. Thank you for the following, Toe. I appreciate it. Thinking about this next point here, with the Zenyatta Moira, I might even be leaning into something a little bit less resource demanding than Hazard. Something like a Wrecking Ball or a Junker Queen might be the play. I'm tempted to go Junker Queen just so that I'm able to sort of, if their Hazard wants to walk in, if I hit a knife onto their Hazard who wants to be trying to stay in with their block, I'm able to drag him more into my Zenyatta LOS. But we're going to be swapping off of Zenyatta and onto Brigitte. Our comp is now going to be kind of weird. But it doesn't matter, because it doesn't matter how weird your comp is if you just hit all of your shots. So we will be finding the kill onto their cat. Our Moira goes low. I don't want to shout that, but I think that I am going to use it and double the value of the shout by using it to step onto their front line while protecting my Moira. And we're going to be winning this point. We're going to be capping this point. Really nice early kill by our Emre. I'm wondering where I want to be postured here. I'm a little bit worried about them instantly taking high ground, so I'm actually might lean back on these stairs, because if their cat drags their Ana or their Hog up to the high ground, I think that could be really, really bad for us, and I don't think that we necessarily can hold any corners into the Roadhog or into the Torbjorn. They hit a nice hook onto our Emre, but that will be okay. Ana's on that right side. They do have the headshot perk, and I have to drop and won't be able to contest the Roadhog much at all. Their Ana goes down, and their Genji's looking to peel our Sombra. If they don't have their dash, I'd be able to kill with my axe there, but unfortunately, not going to be able to find it quite yet. My Brigitte is playing with me, so I can be going for this step. I want to be trying to make sure that this cat is not able to play the game that much. Torbjorn's on the right side. Going to be very unlikely that we kill the Roadhog, so I'm just going to be going for the heroes that I can kill, that I can take out of the fight instantly, and cleaning them up first. Cat's on that right side, and I don't think that we're ever going to be able to kill that Roadhog, so we just want to make sure that we're playing outside of his hook range, since if we get hooked while we're trying to step here, it'd be really, really, really bad. Still looking for the plays onto the heroes that we can kill, like their backline and shit, to actually win. I'm a little bit nervous about this Blade, as well as their cat dragging their Torb or their Roadhog up. Our Emery's going to pop their ult to live. I'm going to touch point, dodging the hook, just barely. The rest of their team wants to be looking at me. I'm taking 3 people's attention. They're going to do dashes onto the lane, but I need to step main because my Moira is culling, and I need to be enabling that value so that we can actually find these kills, because if we don't have enough damage off of that ultimate, it'll just be kind of wasted. They'll be able to stabilize like way easier, and it'll be very rough for us a bit later. Looking into this next fight, they just use their cat ult. They're going to be having their Roadhog, whole hog pretty damn soon. Knife perk would be, yeah, knife perk would be really good. I think I misplayed by picking the heal one. But I'm thinking about my ultimate in the way of I want to get onto their Ana with it. I might even go in if I see all of their Torb stuff in. And now I hit a big ante onto their Torbjorn and their Ana, and we're going to be able to clean up those kills. Our Brigitte uses their rally on the point to deal with the Roadhog, and we will be turning this game into a 1-1 point. Thinking about this next one, there's going to be a lot of high grounds. I'm a little bit worried about the cat. If D.Va's not banned, D.Va might be good here. D.Va is banned. I'm wondering and I'm worried about the Roadhog taking that high ground instantly, and I fear that Queen might be outranged on a lot of these, or on this big open point. Wrecking Ball is an option, Winston's an option. Hazard I think would be difficult with the Moira Brigitte. Generally I think that I need to stick to the Junker Queen though, because our healers are not going to actually have that much range. So I think that I just need to be ready to brawl and take the raw numbers exchange. I don't think that there's going to be as, there's not going to be too much value to be getting out of our mobility here on other dive heroes. So I'm just going to be using my knife to ideally try and deal with these high grounds. Our Emery finds another amazing early pick. I hear the hook come out, and that's going to be my trigger to actually fight this high ground. Completely clearing out the Roadhog, making sure that I'm not peeking onto the point so I don't get hooked. Ana's on that back left. An important thing to know, we might want to walk at that a little bit later, but the Roadhog is going to kite. Again, I really don't want to be hooked here, so I want to position myself in a way where even if I do get hooked, it would be kind of like how our Emery just did and just get blocked by the wall. Pulling their hog out, they use their nade, which is going to be a very big trigger for us, since now as we see hook out and we see nade out, we can be looking for a bit more of an aggressive play. But since the Roadhog is backing up to peel, again, we really don't want to be getting hooked here. We see their soldier on the lane, and the rest of their team is going to care us. The cat got hit by the car. But I will be going down there. I really thought that I could kill the soldier a little bit faster than it actually played out. I knew that their team was in range to peel the soldier. I just really figured that I'd be able to blow him up. And if their soldier damage wasn't there, then I would have been able to kite for free, basically. But unfortunately, I will be overextending just a bit there, and we will be losing because of it. Roadhog's walking up again. I really don't want to be getting hooked here because it would stagger us and put us in a very bad spot. I'm a little late to shout my Emery, unfortunately, but thinking about this next fight, right side's going to be pretty okay. Left side's going to be more important to take, though, especially as I'm not able to do actually that much to the Roadhog. I just need to make sure I'm not hooked in this pit, and I clear these angles, since angles are going to be what my team actually like super falls over to. Cat goes in, so I'm going to be actually peeling and trying to clear our space as I'm looking for hook and sleep out. That was the worst idea ever, to pull the Roadhog towards me. But alas, sometimes these things will happen. They use a lot of their ults there. They use their Torbolt, they use their Cat ult, they use their whole hog. We're going to be having our Queen ult to try to turn this one around, but they do have nano boost, which is a very, very important thing to consider. If we leave their soldier unmarked in the mid-fight and they're able to get nanoed, then they're just going to be blowing up our entire team. We hear the Ana on left. We see the soldier on left. And they're going to be nano visoring, I think. So I'm going to be using my ultimate now-ish, trying to find kills onto their backline, finding the kill onto the Roadhog and the Ana. We'll be opening up this fight, kind of like how we wanted. Knife onto the soldier will be enabling us later to win. Cat is 1 HP. Turret? Where's the turret? Oh well. Our tracer called, or somebody called turret. But I couldn't find it to break out. I'm hoping it's broken. It won't be an issue later. We do have our rally, and now that I think I want high ground. I think I really want to stage high ground, because even if they get that inside area towards cars, I think that it'll be generally okay for us, because we're gonna have a bit more stepping power in the raw front to back. Oh, that's a really bad shout. And we can just play towards this right side and bait their hog into us, but unfortunately we're not gonna have the raw space that we really need to hold. They're gonna find the hook onto our Ana, or onto our Brigitte, but we're gonna be able to trade out their Ana. This is gonna be a very close game. The main thing that I want to be thinking about right now is I see our Emery ult up, and I'm not going to be able to do much to their comp on any tank. So I want to stall the best that I can. We get their Cat pretty low. Our Moira goes down, so it's just going to be big us for the stall, but there's a really easy and awesome thing that you can do here as ball. The stall is care the sleep dart, and with this you're going to be proccing your initiator healing a lot, but against whole hog there's just not much any tank can do. Our Emery is not quite able to farm the ult, and we will be losing that game, unfortunately. I mean, 19-6. I think that it was definitely a very hard game for us to win on tank. I think that we did what we could have on Queen and Hazard. I think Hazard would have been harder on that second point. Maybe it would have been better. Maybe if I stuck Hazard, it would have been fine. But I do think that Hazard into Roadhog can be really, really difficult because they're able to sort of hook you out of your block. Hard CCs are generally going to be very good against Hazard. Taking a look here, I think maybe one more game. How many have we played on tank? Midtown, Kings, Rune, yeah, okay. So we're gonna play one more in tank, and then maybe we could play some support. I'm gonna have to double check what my scrims are looking like for today. But if we're able to get some support done as well, that would be really, really cool. Going into what's going to be our last tank game for today. Pariso, Atlas, New Junk City. I'm gonna vote random. And we'll be finding the random, and it's gonna be Nepal. I actually really like Nepal. That's a W random. Thinking about Nepal here, it's gonna be a fairly flexible map, though there are going to be some sub points that are going to heavily favor Brawl. Village and Sanctum, I believe. The Sanctum, I hope, is the inside one that you can boot people into like the big pit. It's going to be fairly good for Brawl. Those closed corridors and the tight lanes are going to be very, very good for more front to back heroes, something like Amalga, Orisa, Reinhardt, Sigma sort of deal. And heroes like Wrecking Ball, Winston might struggle because there are going to be very few lanes that you can sort of come through. But on the other 2 points, the dive will open up quite a bit because there are going to be high grounds that you can play through. There are going to be a lot of... yeah, there are going to be high grounds you can play from. There's going to be a little bit more open space, and you're going to be having a lot more options to actually like get in and onto the targets that you want to as more divey heroes. So looking at our team comp here, we're going to have Sojourn, Genji, Brigitte. What was my favorite map? I like Suravasa. Suravasa is my favorite map. I also really like Lijiang Tower. I know, daring today, aren't we? We're going to have Brigitte, Kiriko. A lot of options open for us. Maybe we can end with some Diva. That could be good. Warm me up for my scrims later. Alright. We're going to be playing some Diva. I think Diva's a little bit tougher on this point. With our Zenyatta swap from Brigitte, means that we're going to be wanting to play a little bit slower. We're going to be wanting to enable our Zenyatta a lot. They are on Pharah Hazard, so Hazard's going to be something or someone very important for us to poke out. I think that somebody's on that angle left side, but there's a lot of people that we need to mark and make sure that we actually don't let get their value. But I think that their comp is going to really struggle when it comes to actually pressuring the point, so I'm just waiting for them to go to point, and then I can look to do something. I think that their Hazard might not have watched Parkour Civilization and go into the pit for some reason, so I think that we will just take this space. And now is going to be a very big denial game. Yeah, he jumped for the he jumped for the chicken, Loki. He's that one guy that jumped for the chicken and lost. I didn't want to fly on that far because I don't know, I actually had spidey senses that the Lucio is going to come help. I don't know if they were even on Lucio last fight. Our Genji's on that left side, and I want to be kind of ready to help it. I want to check what's going on outside since I heard their Pharah around. And I want to make sure that their Pharah is not able to get any good engages. I don't want to be boostering outside into their Lucio because that's going to be a very big boop threat for us if we don't have our boosters. So I just want to be very gentle, very chill while we wait for our boosters to come back. Looking at our team's positioning, our Zen's holding close, our Soldier's holding close, our Genji back to main. We're going to be needing to maybe deal with something on that angle a little bit later because we no longer have our Genji holding it for now. I'm going to be eating the wall, and as I think I hear their Pharah walking left, I'm going to be stepping at that. Since if their Pharah got that left side, and since our Genji was sort of holding main and our Zen was already set up, it would have been hard for them to walk out this right side. But the real threat to us to break our hold on this choke would have been opening up through left side. So I was posturing over that direction, waiting for them to sort of walk in. Their supports are postured in a way that allows care onto their backline, but they're going to be taking this left lane a bit. I don't want to be committing too much, but they are going to be on Onion, which is going to make our job a bit more difficult because we just can't eat the fans. So as long as they're stacked on their Hanzo, it's going to be much harder for us. We see Discord coming out onto their Hazard, and they're going to be fairly low. I think Onion is peeling us. Rush coming out onto point for us. I want to see where their Onion is, and I see them still stacked on their Hanzo, but as our Genji gets active, it's going to make an opening for us to actually step and blow up their DPS. Since their Onion was basically acting as like a glorified Brigitte, it was going to mean that our backline was way less pressured and we didn't have to do as much as long as we were just sort of passively trying to mark out their Hanzo to make sure that they couldn't find any miracle frags onto us, even though actually aggressing onto the Hanzo and blowing them up would have been way more difficult because their Onion was stacked on them. Yo, thank you for the sub, Kelsey. You've been watching my videos since day one and sharing the duo. Thanks for the teaching. Oh, that's so awesome. I'm glad that you've been enjoying it. I hope that they've been helping. I'm recording the one that's gonna go up tomorrow right now. So, looking at our next point, I don't know what this is called. I call it elephant map because there's an elephant. They're going to be looking like they're on the same comp with that Onron instead of the Pharah. Onron on the right side, their Hazard wall comes out, and their Hazard will be in us. I don't even hear him. Widow. Oh, that's... Okay, so I'm going to be pressured a little bit more to be getting active in these fights just because they have Widow, and it means that they won't actually have that much consistent damage onto us. Whenever you're playing tank and you see that the enemy team has a Widowmaker, it means that you are going to be a little more free to actually go for plays because they don't have the reliable and consistent DPS that other hit scans like Cassidy or Ashe would bring for their team. So they're going to have a lot less sort of like pressure onto you. I'm struggling to get plays off though, so I'm thinking that maybe the adjustment that I need to make, I can be looking at their Onion more in these early parts of the fight, because if I'm able to force out their Onion and then look for my plays afterwards, there's going to be way less damage coming onto me, and there's going to be way less potential for their team to peel. So our Onion steps up, but the rest of their team is also going to remain here. But since our Hazard backed up main, it means that our Sojourn's just going to be free shooting. I don't know where Widow is. I'm not going to be able to fully mark her out, but I am going to be able to force out their Onion a bit and find an angle to shoot out their Hazard as he tries to stabilize on the point. I want to be eating a lot of this guy's healing so that he's not able to build up his armor again, but they do pop their Kitsune Rush. So I'm going to be backing up, trying to peel the aggression from their team. Hazard falls 1 HP. They use their Suzu. I'm going to be looking up to DM the spikes so that we're able to live and not get sort of beamed down. Lucio falls 1 HP, but we're not going to be able to find it. If we had our perk 1 second sooner, we would have been fine. And we will be chilling. I think that fight was pretty solid. They used a bunch of ults. They used their spikes. They used their Kitsune Rush. I didn't see their Onron ult, but I don't think there's actually much that they can do about it. They're swapping a little bit more and more towards Diva counters, so I'm not going to be able to do as much, but their Hazard will leave. So that will enable us to sort of play a lot more passively than we were before, since our tank is not going to be able to do that much. I'm just going to be posturing over here, trying to be ready to enable my Sojourn if they need it. Staring at the Onion fire in case that they want to respawn, but there is actually a 6-8 today. Okay, I heard. Thank you for that video. Hope your foods was good, Nikki. Oh yeah, I low-key also haven't eaten today. But I think that if their hazard doesn't come back, this game is going to be looking pretty good for us. Beat coming out. I'm trying to use it to blow up our Sojourn. But unfortunately, since I'm not able to actually DM the Onion fan damage, we're going to be actually kind of in a rough spot. But their hazard comes back, or their tank comes back, so we actually need to start playing the game a bit again. So their hazard's main, their Onion gets a late death, but will revive themselves. Discord coming out onto a hazard. Onion going low, and we're going to be able to use our perk to blow that up. I want to be keeping my Zenyatta alive quite a bit. Hazard on main is going to allow us to just sort of peel out a lot of their healing, DM as much as we can from the enemy's Kiriko, and I think that even though their tank comes back, we will be winning this game. Ending 16-0, I think that we had a few good plays, especially on that first sub point there, making sure that we were marking out all of the threats that we needed to and blowing up anyone who was taking a little bit too overzealous of flanks, like that Pharah. And we'll just be in a pretty good spot. I think that we had definitely quite a good session today on tank. My micro is feeling pretty good today on tank especially. And I think that will be a contributing factor to actually helping us win some of those games. But if you're not able to execute on a lot of the ideas or any of the ideas that you're having, then it's just going to be really difficult to actually perform in game. There's going to be a lot of players and coaches who are going to understand the game really well and have really, really good ideas on how to play it. But players are the ones that actually need to execute those ideas. So if you want to be a good player, you need to hit the shots and whatnot. We're going to be ending our tank today at GM2 43%. Not bad at all. I think that we went up 2 games. Very, very chill, but thank you for my YouTube audience. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye bye.